New cases of infection with a novel strain of coronavirus, which emerged at a seafood market in the Chinese city of Wuhan, are being reported daily around the world. The death toll in China from the infection of the new coronavirus has increased to 170, as more countries announce plans to evacuate their citizens from Wuhan, the Chinese city at the center of the outbreak. It is confirmed that 7,711 people in China have the infection, which has spread from Wuhan's Hubei province to every one of China's 31 provinces. Several countries in the Asia-Pacific region, as well as states in Europe, North America and the Middle East, have been confirmed to have cases of infection. Here is the latest update on countries that have confirmed cases of the infection with the deadly coronavirus. Australia. In Australia, Oceania, 7 cases. Australia has confirmed 7 cases of the virus. Among the most recent was a 21-year-old woman who was on the last flight out of Wuhan to Sydney before China imposed a travel ban. The other infections were detected in one man who arrived in Melbourne from China, 3 men in Sydney who had recently arrived from China, and tested positive for the disease. They were being treated in isolation units in local hospitals. Cambodia. In Asia, 1 case. Cambodia confirmed the first case of coronavirus in the country on January 27. Health Minister Mam Bunhung said the patient was a 60-year-old Chinese national in the coastal city of Sihanoukville. Canada. In North America, 3 cases. A man who arrived in Toronto with his wife on January 22 after visiting Wuhan was confirmed to have the coronavirus. The couple were wearing masks on their flight from Guangzhou and took their own transport home from the airport. His wife has also tested positive for the virus. 1 case was also confirmed in British Columbia. Meanwhile, 19 suspected cases being investigated by health officials in Toronto. China. In Asia, at least 7,711 cases and 170 death cases. As of January 30, most of them in and around Wuhan. At least 170 people have died, nearly all in Hubei province, but officials have confirmed at least 8 deaths elsewhere, including 1 in Beijing and 1 in Shanghai and 2 in Henan. The city of Macau, a gambling hub hugely popular with mainland tourists, has confirmed 7 cases. In Hong Kong, 10 people are known to have been infected, with hundreds of suspected cases reported. France. In Europe, 5 cases. There are 5 known cases of the coronavirus in France, the first European country to be affected. A 48-year-old man is in hospital in Bordeaux. He had recently traveled to Wuhan and returned to France via the Netherlands. 2 others, a Chinese couple in their early 30s, have been hospitalized in Paris. All 3 had recently traveled to China and had now been placed in isolation. France's health minister has said it is likely that there will be more cases and that authorities are surveying all the people that the patients have come into contact with after arriving in France. Finland. In Europe, 1 case. A Chinese tourist who was admitted to the hospital for tests has been confirmed as having been infected with the coronavirus. The patient is said to be a 32-year-old female from Wuhan. Germany. In Europe, 4 cases. Germany confirmed its first case of the coronavirus on January 28 in southern Bavaria. A man in the Starnberg region has been infected with the new coronavirus, a spokesperson for the ministry said, adding that the patient was under surveillance in an isolation ward. The ministry gave no further details on how the patient came to be infected but said he was in a medically good state. The ministry said it considers the risk to the general population to be low. India. In Asia, 1 case. India reported its first case of the coronavirus on January 30 in the southern state of Kerala, the government said in a statement. The patient, a student at Wuhan University, has tested positive for the virus and is stable and in isolation at a hospital, the statement added. Japan. In Asia, 11 cases. As of January 29, Japan has at least 11 cases of coronavirus. It is unclear if the number already includes the 3 new cases announced on Thursday. The 3 new cases involved nationals who were evacuated from Wuhan on Wednesday, January 29. The country's first case was reported by the health ministry last week, a man who had visited Wuhan and was hospitalized on January 10, 4 days after his return to Japan. Malaysia. In Asia, 8 cases. Malaysia confirmed its 8th case of coronavirus infection on January 30. All were 8 cases involved Chinese nationals. The latest patient is the wife of the 7th person who contracted the virus. Both persons are from Wuhan. On Wednesday, the government announced 3 more cases, who were among the patients under investigation group. Earlier, the government confirmed that a 40-year-old man was being treated in hospital. A 65-year-old woman and 2 boys, aged 2 and 11, were also being kept in an isolation ward at a public hospital, Malaysia's health minister said. They are the wife and grandchildren of a 66-year-old man who was found to be infected in Singapore. Nepal, in Asia, 1 case. Nepal said a 32-year-old man arriving from Wuhan had been tested positive for the deadly disease. The patient, who was initially quarantined, recovered and was discharged. The government said surveillance has been increased at the airport, and suspicious patients entering Nepal are being monitored. Philippines, in Asia, 1 case. Philippine health officials confirmed the first case of the new coronavirus on January 30th. A 38-year-old Chinese woman, who arrived in the country from Wuhan on January 21, tested positive for the novel coronavirus, Health Secretary Francisco Duque told a news conference. Duque said the patient, confined in a government hospital, is currently asymptomatic. Singapore, in Asia, 10 cases. Singapore has 10 cases. At least 5 of the cases involved people who arrived in the city-state from Wuhan for the Lunar New Year holidays. South Korea, in Asia, 6 cases. The Korea Centers for Disease Control (KCDC) confirmed 2 new cases on January 30, bringing the total number of infected people to 6 and marking the country's first human-to-human transmission. Of the 2, one had recently returned from Wuhan, but the other was confirmed to be the country's first human transmission of the case, the KCDC said. Other cases involved a 55-year-old South Korean man who returned from Wuhan on January 20 had tested positive for the virus, a 35-year-old woman who flew in from Wuhan on January 20, a South Korean man in his 50s who returned from working in Wuhan, and a 54-year-old South Korean resident of Wuhan who had arrived home on January 20. Sri Lanka, in Asia, 1 case. Sri Lanka confirmed its first case of coronavirus on January 27. The patient was identified as a 43-year-old Chinese woman from Hubei who had arrived in Sri Lanka as a tourist. She was admitted to the Infectious Diseases Hospital. Taiwan, in Asia, 8 cases. Taiwan has uncovered 8 cases so far. Among the latest cases is a Taiwanese woman who had been working in Wuhan before returning home on January 20. The island's authorities have since advised against travel to Wuhan and Hubei province, and on January 24 said any arrivals from Wuhan would be rejected by immigration. All arrivals from the rest of China, including Hong Kong and Macau, must fill out health declaration forms on arrival. The territory has also banned the export of face masks for a month to ensure domestic supplies. Thailand, in Asia, 14 cases. Thailand has detected 14 cases so far. Sukhum Kanjanapimai, the ministry's permanent secretary, said on Tuesday all 6 latest cases are Chinese tourists from Hubei province who entered Thailand several days ago. They are from Wuhan. The new cases are 2 women and 4 men, aged 6 to 60. 5 of the 6 new cases are family members. All 6 were admitted to a hospital in Nonthaburi province. United States 5 cases. The U.S. has confirmed 5 cases of the virus, 2 in California, and 1 each in Arizona, Chicago and Washington state. United Arab Emirates, in Asia, 4 cases. According to UAE authorities, at least 4 Chinese nationals coming from one family have been confirmed with coronavirus. They are the first cases reported in the Middle East. Vietnam, in Asia, 4 cases. Vietnam on January 23 confirmed 1 case of the virus in a man from Wuhan who traveled to Ho Chi Minh City earlier this month. 3 more cases were reported on January 30 in people who had also returned from Wuhan. 2 were being treated in the capital, Hanoi, while another was receiving treatment in the northern province of Thanh Hoa, a report in the Suk Ko and Doi Song newspaper said. All 3 had recently returned from Wuhan. Presently, there is no treatment for the mysterious novel coronavirus, but it can be avoided. How? Get the book, 15 Ways to Prevent Yourself from 2019 Novel Coronaviruses Infection by Dr. Sam Oller. Link. You will see the link below https://amzn.to/38u7g for more update on the outbreak of 2019 novel coronavirus. Click on the subscribe button.